Blog Talk Radio.
Again, last show of the year, December 14th, 2016. So, I'm just going to tell you quickly that I saw something this week. I didn't read it. I saw it. I saw a documentary called The Wrecking Crew. It's about a bunch of studio musicians in Los Angeles who were on a ton of popular music recordings back in the 1960s and 70s, and they got used again and again just because they were so good at it. The Monkees or the Association, they would sing a song on the radio, but on the record, the Wrecking Crew would be playing all the instruments. Or on TV, it looked like the Monkees were playing it, but they weren't really. Anyway, in this documentary, Roger McGuinn from the Byrds, he said that when the Wrecking Crew did the music on his records, it took 3 takes for a song. When his own group, the Byrds, did the music themselves, it took 70 takes. So these guys were really good. They saved a lot of money, but sometimes the egos of these musicians, the rock musicians, they got in the way. Anyway, here's what struck me most about this movie. One of the most popular guitarists was a guy named Tommy Tedesco, and he said that you always hear about musicians who are already highly competent when they were 12 years old. And then he says, that wasn't me. That was not me. He started playing in his 20s. And that blew me away because I'm kind of negative, okay? And I would have assumed that it was way too late to start then. And so here's what it meant to me to hear this. When you're new at a profession, it's easy to think that you're never going to catch up to the people who've been in it forever. But apparently that's not, takes about 10,000 hours of practice to become really, really, really good at anything. But there's this guy named James Altucher who writes online, and he came back with this statement. He said, great, it takes 10,000 hours to become excellent, but you know what? It only takes a few hundred hours of practice to become pretty good, right? So if you're just starting out in recruiting or anything, don't think that it's going to take you forever until you're good at your job. It probably won't. And you know what? You might even be better than the people who, when you first started out, you thought they knew everything. Okay? And now, let me invite you to our last meeting of the year on Jerry. What show is this?
The Recruiting Animal Show!
Thank you, Jerry. Jerry's not here. Hey, all you Jerry fans, go away. He's not here. He didn't tell me he's not coming. The guy is always complaining that he has about his working conditions and his pay every week. I never know if he's going to show up. Okay? And you know what? It's really, it doesn't matter if he came today or not, because the show today is a little too technical for him. He'd be groaning the whole time anyway, okay? So, I'm going to go straight to I want to thank, at the beginning of the show, I like to thank my sponsors. PC Recruiter, led by the great Martin Snyder, okay? PC Recruiter, that's the recruiting software for every kind of recruiting. And also our new sponsor, Hire Tool, the hot new sourcing tool. It really is. Okay, so our guest today is a return visit by a guy named Jeremy Ames, A-M-E-S. His Twitter name is the HCM guy. And you know what? I'll bet you he doesn't have an elevator speech, but the guy actually wants to sing a song. That's fantastic. Did you pick a song?
How about Strawberry Fields? Since you got me into the Beatles idea.
How about Face? You know that one? It's a little faster. You know that?
I'm sure if you were to
Face, I can't forget the time or place. Don't you know it? No.
No.
Let me take you
But
down.
you can sing it.
Too slow. You know what? I've got a real concern. You're a techie, okay? I understand you guys are not very quick. You're a bit slow on the take. That's why you're socially inept. So, I'm worried that you won't be lively enough for the show. If we're going to start off with Strawberry Fields, man, it's going to be downhill.
We can sing it up
all the way from there.
We can sing it up tempo.
Some kind of druggie anyway? That's a song about drugs. Let me take you down. Let's do it. Let me take you down. Because I'm going to Strawberry Fields. Oh, nothing is very real.
I'm here.
And there's nothing to write home
nothing
about.
To get hung about or get hung about. Strawberry Fields. All right, whatever. Good.
Forever.
Move on.
I'm finishing off. Okay, who are you? Give us your elevator speech.
I am Jeremy Ames, as you said, the HCM guy. I run a company called Hive Tech HR. We find and implement HR systems and talent acquisition systems for our customers.
Okay, I did some reading on you this morning. I was under the impression you're primarily an implementation guy. You're not a person who helps companies choose their software. Am I right or wrong about that?
You are partially do a component of our work is finding systems.
Oh, you're on one of those good phones. Okay, I won't complain. Okay, I didn't hear what you said. Doesn't matter. Hey, listen, I've got a general question to ask you because you're working with IT people all the time. Am I right about that?
That's correct, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Are IT people unusually dumb? Okay, you think about that for a minute, and I'll tell you why I'm asking. Because this morning, I read an article that said the Democratic Party, the Democratic National Committee, they didn't buy good protection for their emails. Hillary Clinton's running for president, and they don't buy the top dollar protection. That's mistake number one. Then, last September, the FBI called their help desk. I don't know where they got their brains either. They call the help desk, and they tell the guy on the line that they're being hacked, right? And so this tech guy didn't believe it was he didn't believe it was the FBI. So he didn't do anything about it, and nobody else did anything either. It seems totally insane. Is that normal?
I mean, to pick one anecdote in the world of IT and say that all IT people are stupid is probably not accurate. But
okay.
I'm sure there are some that you want to be more experienced.
Is that unusual? Yeah. I mean, or were you shocked when you heard that story? You said, yeah, I could see that happening.
Early in my career, I used to run a help desk, and you get some crazy requests, and you have some crazy responses by the help desk. So, no, it doesn't surprise me. You can't solve every problem, and hopefully you just recognize when it is the FBI. That would be
that's a non-answer, and I got to tell you, you are on a terrible phone. It's bad.
I can call in.
Anybody else back me up on that?
He sounds
He's
great,
not on
Animal.
A good phone.
You sound terrible.
I sound terrible?
I think it's the software. I think it's.
He sounds fine.
He sounds fine, and I sound bad, eh? Okay, you guys, you know what they call that now? Here's what they call that: gaslighting. They call that gaslighting. I think I
sound.
That's
not
okay.
Gaslighting. That's not
gaslighting.
At all. Gaslighting. What I say. I wasn't on the show last Thursday. What are you talking about?
Yeah, and I'm saying I sound good and he sounds bad, and you're telling me he sounds good and I sound bad.
That's just an accurate rendition of the facts.
Yeah, okay. That's what you say. Jeremy, what time do you get up in the morning? Do my new standard question.
I tend to get up around 6:30, related to the family.
6:30. Yeah. What time did the guy get up last week, Stephen? Was it 10 to 7? You're a little earlier than him. Okay, so there's a really terrific article that William Tincup and this guy Jeremy Ames wrote about. It's like a 7-part book about buying and implementing HR software. And the thing that interested me most was Jeremy said that he was shocked by how ferociously and persistently William marketed that work. Can you tell us what you meant by that?
Yeah, I mean, he's the kind of person, and there are some people out there that just do, when they're committed to something, they believe in something that they've been a part of, they go crazy on marketing it. So he
I
just
understand in
blasted it.
general. I'm not an idiot.
Yeah.
I don't work for the Democratic National Committee. I understand what ferociously and persistently marketing means. I want to know exactly what he did, okay? So I can do the same thing.
He's scheduled through whatever he uses, Hootsuite, whatever tool he's using. He's scheduled just tons of pumping of this article series through both LinkedIn, just basically through all the social media channels. You saw it on Facebook, you saw it on Twitter. And it was just to the point where you couldn't avoid it.
I thought he sold it. I thought he sold it to somebody, so you guys made some money off of it. Okay.
Well, we get paid. I think get paid to write it, if that means anything. But
yeah, okay. Did you send gifts to your clients at this holiday season?
We send cards and we send gifts to our team members, but not gifts to clients. Should we be doing that?
Okay, good. No, that's fine. That's a good answer.
All right.
Another seasonal one. It's party time. Okay. Do you use it as networking time to get business?
Networking. I mean, there's no conference season is over, so that's when I do most of my networking. This time of year, it's all online, so I connect with people online, thank people online. But
let's get right into it.
Yep.
You say time after time, companies try to layer a performance management technology over a lousy process, okay? So since this is a recruiting show, I'm interested in recruiting software. And so you're saying that the software is not going to work if their process is no good. Can you give us some examples or stories that you've seen where they have a lousy recruiting process that's not going to translate into a good process just because you buy expensive technology?
Most scenarios are exactly like that. You know, most companies haven't fully figured out what they want to do from a recruiting standpoint, and so they'll buy something, and a lot of times we're actually implementing software that includes recruiting as part of it. We do work with some that are standalone systems, but a lot of times it's just part of your HR system, so you're basically taking whatever
he wants an example, Jeremy. What he wants is something like, I interviewed someone, they don't take notes. If you don't put notes into the ATS, there's no way to track what happens. He wants more examples like that.
Thank you,
Jim. The software, yes, that was very good. Thank you for
Jim, the animal whisperer.
So an example is, not every piece of software does a great job of the initial sourcing. So you bring in a piece of software, assume it's going to do some level of sourcing, and it doesn't end up doing that. And in the end, since you didn't go into it knowing that you needed that to be a part of it, you don't. And that happens to a lot of our clients, actually. Is that closer?
What is that? Did anybody understand what he just said? Mike, Jim?
Is that like the web sourcing piece of Avature where it says it does it, but you didn't think about it, so you have to go out and do it? Is that
okay?
It's like Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, Jeremy. Tell us a real life story. Tell us a story and say this is what's wrong with their recruiting process, guys. And if you're doing that, you're an idiot, and you should do something about it so they can hear you say something from real life and recognize it in their own lives and learn something from the show. Can't you do that?
I can absolutely try. So the real problem with people, and I usually work with companies. The real problem is they're still treating their recruiting world as an applicant tracking system. So they're only taking the person once they've expressed interest on through to when they get the job offer. There aren't enough companies that have started going earlier on in the process and using software that actually takes into account that piece of it. That's the biggest thing that I see.
No, you know what? I'm living on another planet. I'll just say what I was trying to get at. You said the process, aside from the technology, is lousy. So now you're telling me that their technology is no good. Okay, I'll leave that question.
No, Animal, what he's saying is that he's saying that recruiters start and stop every single candidate, and that's what the ATS is built for. So then they go try to add other pieces of actually building talent pools or talking to people after the fact. And the issue is they're not built for that. So they bought a piece of software that only deals with the second you send an application to the day you said yes or no. And so they don't have bolt-ons. So they haven't thought about the extra parts of how do I get this person interested 6 months beforehand.
Okay. Yeah, but Jim Durbin, the famous Jim Durbin, that's a recruiting technology problem. That's not a process pre-technology process problem. That's all I'm saying. That's all
I
I'm saying.
disagree with that statement.
But you don't get to the technology until you start thinking about those things.
Yeah, well, that's what he says.
Correct.
People don't think about what they need. That's another issue. But here's another one. I'll just jump to the end of the process. He says most software fails because the company doesn't make sure the users get enough training. Here's his example. He actually gives one. They give you a 4-hour class and a follow-up webinar for an hour, and the user is supposed to know everything. He says that's not enough. They are starved for more training. And that's the reason most features go unused. You want to talk about that? Give you some examples? What are you basing that statement on?
I'm basing it on the poor adoption that I see in the software world. Just the fact that companies spend millions of dollars to make up.
Tell you again? Story.
I have to be very careful with my stories because I have clients and software vendors that I just don't want to use.
Don't mention any names. Oh, look, okay. Another one of these guys who comes on the show and says, I can't say anything.
I will tell you something. Okay, I'll give you a specific example. I work mostly in HR, and the big area where I don't see adoption is in employee self-service. So company puts in the system. The goal is that they're supposed to have employees doing their benefits, doing a life event in the system. That's where you don't get the adoption. So the company puts it in place. Many of our clients will put it in place, and then they can't get the employees to actually do that. So they've spent all this money.
Let me stop you right there. Okay, yeah. This is a recruiting show. Do I have to tell you again? So what you're saying is that these software that's not part of somebody's job, people never learn how to use it. But a recruiter who's using this recruiting software is part of his or her job. You're not talking about them. They get enough training. Am I right about that?
I definitely hear stories that companies put talent acquisitions in place, and this has happened in our clients, and then it doesn't get used by the recruiters. They basically see it as an unnecessary evil, and they just kind of do it to get the candidates in the system, but it's not actually facilitating their job because they don't.
You know what? I hear that a lot. I hear that a lot too. That people they do total resourcing for every job. They don't check their resume database. Is that true?
Yeah, I mean that's absolutely true, and sometimes it's just because of what we started out this section of the show on, which is that they're not trained on how to use the system. They don't see all the benefits of it. They don't know all the bells and whistles that it's capable of, and so they use the bare bones minimum, which isn't enough to make it worthwhile.
Do you think any of those softwares were built for recruiters? And a better question is, do you know anybody in the software space that has a clue what recruiting actually is? Like if they sat down and tried to describe it, would they understand how we work?
Yes, and there are those who wouldn't. But there are definitely some that do, and a lot of that speaks to, you can get to know who the people are that built it, and if they came from the recruiting space, then that's a good bet that they're putting something together that will work for the recruiter.
Okay, here's a good question based on what Jim just said. I want to do a unique version of my first ad for PC Recruiter today, okay? But we're not really going to talk about PC Recruiter. We're going to talk about me. If I want to do an ad for a recruiting software company, what are the important things that I should be talking about in that ad? What functions or features or benefits should I address? If I said, Jeremy Ames, I'm going to pay you $1,000 to do this ad, put it together for me, what would you want to talk about in that ad?
I would make sure that the ad highlighted not only the ability to find, screen, and hire the best candidates, but also to market and do some proactive marketing so that you're connecting with the job seekers. And then finally, not just handing them off to an HR. Little challenge speaking there. Not just handing them off to an HR system, but doing some level of onboarding so that you transition them into the company.
Okay, so you said the recruiting software has to be able to find candidates. What does that mean exactly?
It needs to have legs and walk around. No. There are ways that the system can actually become almost like a recruiting marketing channel and a proactive. There are systems out there like Clinch and some others that do this where they become almost like a marketing hub kind of where you're actually proactively trying to attract talent. So that's one feature that
what
wasn't
does that
happening
mean? Jim
before.
Durbin, help me. Jimmy, are you still there?
Yeah.
No?
Yeah.
Okay, what is he talking about? You talked a minute ago about Avature having a sourcing function. When he says your recruiting software is going to help you find people, what does he mean?
I think you can hear exactly what the issue is. We're talking about recruiting, and he's talking about the entire hiring process. So if you think about how you get resumes, you've got internal transfers, you've got internal referrals, you have sourcing online, you had posting a job and getting incoming resumes, and then direct recruiting where you're actually going out trying to find someone just for that job. So that's 5 different areas of sourcing to go find resumes. And people with the ATSs want you to stay inside that system so the data is collected and they can utilize it. But recruiters like, I don't know how to do it this way. I'll go do it the way I did. I'll go jump on Monster. I'll go to LinkedIn. I'll call the people I know.
I don't know. I can't hear. Half of everything you're saying is being bleeped out. So I don't know if you're swearing or,
There's a lot of
bad phone. I'm sorry. I don't know what he said.
He sounded just fine.
What?
He sounded just fine.
What's wrong with me? How come I can't hear every...
Maybe if you drop off and have Jim run the call.
Yeah, maybe. And maybe you should. But I got to tell you, Jim sounds good, and I sound awful. I'll be surprised. Michael Cox, you work inside a corporation. You're one of the only people, regular callers, who's a corporate recruiter. What about your recruiting software? Do you have any?
Sell out.
Yes.
What?
Yes, I do. It is an applicant tracking system that unfortunately isn't used enough as an actual resume database. We got tens of thousands of people in this thing. My fellow recruiter here is getting better at it, but he needs to dig into what's there already. We hire like 0.001% of the people that apply and pretend like nobody else exists.
So is that a training problem? I mean, the machine just not the...
We need to stop calling it an applicant tracking system and start calling it, a resume database. As soon as somebody says, hey, we're looking for somebody with this type of experience in this region, why is it that we immediately go and post a job? It's annoying.
Jeremy, can you answer that? Jeremy, can you answer that question?
I think it's primarily because there are tools out there that do this work and that create talent pools. And, if you're a corporate recruiter, you're kind of beholden to whatever your company has put in place. So if they don't have anything in place, then yeah.
I know. We on another planet. He said they got it. They could use it just like you use LinkedIn or like you use Monster or Career Builder, but they don't. And I swear that's one thing I've heard many, many times. I'll move on. It's okay. Oh, you know what? Maybe I'll go ahead, Mike.
Just to answer Kelly's question, the applicants in the applicant tracking system, I will bet that the overwhelming majority of those individuals didn't even get an opportunity to be reviewed. So it's not that they're being rejected. It's just that maybe we found the right candidate and then just shut down the entire process right there and even just stop looking at the rest of the applications.
I see. Okay. You know what? That's a lesson for you, Jeremy. That's a recruiting process problem, not a technology problem, okay?
I don't need another piece of technology. I just need to get people to start digging into what's already there.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, I'm going to do an ad. Hey, everybody, it's the year end, in case you didn't know that. And people are starting to consider the improvements they can make in their business. I think Jeremy wrote an article about predictions for next year. I'm not going to make predictions, but I'm going to make a recommendation. I want to tell you that if you're considering new recruiting software in the coming year, I want you to consider PC Recruiter. Martin Snyder, the president of Main Sequence Technology that produces this product, PC Recruiter, he told me, Animal, there's a lot of good recruiting software out there, but there's one thing that distinguishes us, and this is it. Our software is good for every kind of recruiting. Other recruiting software, you know what? They're focused on one kind of recruiting. It might be direct hire. It might be executive search, or it might be staffing, Animal. But PC Recruiter embraces every kind of recruiting all around the world. And you know what? I'm back in my own voice. I see testimonials online in recruiting discussions, and the people there agree with Marty. So please, do me a favor, check it out at pcrecruiter.net, pcrecruiter.net, and tell them the recruiting animal sent you. Thank you. Okay, back to our scheduled program. Okay, so you know what? Does anybody have any questions about recruiting technology before I go on? Anybody? No? Okay. Okay. I just have a question. You said you go to these recruiting conferences or HR conferences. Is that where you get most of your business?
Yeah, I got a lot from there. Most of it, though, is from referrals.
Okay, but how do you get referred? How do you get, like, let's say, are you like the wrecking crew? Everybody wants to use you because you're so good?
I know a decent amount of people that when opportunities come up, they just refer people to me directly.
Why?
So
Why
that's
do they refer you? Like, how could we become the referral of choice? Do we have to go hang around in the hallways at these conferences and chat people up? What's the key? How come people are referring you?
I would like to think because I'm a decent guy and they know that I have some talent in the work that I do, and I try to just I do a lot of networking.
How do they find out about you? How do they find out about you?
Through either writing, the writing that I do, or like you said, I do go to these conferences, so you build kind of a core group of people that you start to know in the industry. So
can you tell me a story? You don't have to mention any names. About a time you went to a conference and got some business from it. How did it happen? Were you at a bar drinking and the person talked to you next to you, said, "What do you do?" And you told him, and then he gave you a job?
I was at an IREM conference once. I used to sit on the board of directors of IREM, and I was in one of the networking receptions, and somebody started talking to me about one of the presentations they saw and what they liked about it, and I started talking about how I do work similar to that, and about 2 months later, they were one of our big clients. So, and we did a whole bunch of system selection work and process reengineering work for them.
Okay. You know what I liked? You said when you're talking to vendors about buying software, you have to ask them how they make their money and then make sure that you pay them enough so they're going to give you decent service. Is that what you recommend?
I do recommend that you don't go into a buying transaction not knowing what the vendor's getting out of it, because you could end up in a situation where you're one of their clients that they don't look forward to servicing and they took a financial hit on, so you just may not get as good of a service as you would if you just went into it more, copacetic with them.
So but you actually say, look the guy in the face, the eye, and say, how do you make your money? On what portion of this process are you going to make money? You want us to talk to people that way. Is that right?
That's right, both on the software vendor side, but even especially on the consulting side, because there's a lot of consultants out there that are making their money off of, either referrals or things like that, and so you have to be careful. You may not always be getting unbiased information.
So, but what are they going to say? Where do you make your money? What kind of answer are you looking for? You're going to say, look, are you going to make $100,000 off me? Is that enough? Or are you going to put me at the back of the bus when it comes to getting support? I mean, really, what? Yes. I don't know what's the story?
That's hugely important.
What do you want to know?
I want to know, are they going to be losing money, for example, on an implementation? If they are going to lose money on implementation, you may not get the best implementation you could, and that's a very important part of a project. If you're going to get the system plugged in, whether it's an ATS or anything else. So if they're losing money in that, it's important. If they're losing money on support, for example, you may not get the best support you could. Or if they're not making any money on training, then you may not even get training. So it's important.
But how do you know what to pay them? I mean, what you're saying is, if they say, well, we're not going to make any money on this, you say, yeah, I want you to make money. How do you know how much? You say, take more money from me. How much extra do you know what to give them?
Every time you go through a buying process, you're doing competitive comparisons. You're finding out there is a market value to what software vendors are providing, and once you figure that out, all I'm saying in what I wrote and what you're referring to in that article series is make sure it makes sense to both you as a buyer and to the vendor, and don't just look at it like, did I get the best?
How do I know what makes sense? How do I know what makes sense to him? I don't know what he needs to run his business. Am I going to run his business for him?
Hopefully you have people internal to your company who do have some sense, who have bought other, bits of software, whether it's financial software, and they can help you through that. You can have an expert help you, not to plug my own to my home, but you can have somebody help you to make that determination. It's tough. It's something that people tend to fall down.
I got to tell you, I listened to your interview on another show this morning before this. And you know what? They didn't ask you these hardball questions, and they know a lot more about this topic than I do, okay?
So come on, keep laying it on. Whatever you got, Animal. That your whole ad that you did got me all jazzed up for the last 20 minutes here. Come on.
Who owns the data? I was shocked by this. Who owns the data on that software? I own the data. But you said that's not the real question. Let's say you purchased this company A technology and you want to move over to PC Recruiter or somebody else like that. You got to be able to extract your data in a form that you can use it. That's the real question, isn't it?
It's a huge question, both from an HR standpoint and from a talent acquisition standpoint. Do you actually own that talent pool, or is it something when you're ready to shift to a new product? Is it going to be extremely painful to even get that, or are you going to actually be able to go back in time on your candidate history? So that's a big question to ask during the buying process.
And what kind of answer? You need an IT guy with you when you're getting the answer, because they're going to tell you the technical format in which they're giving you the data. Is that right?
Am I getting a CSV? Or am I getting a SQL database? Correct. You need to know exactly what format it's going to be in.
Now, when you say who owns the data, though, that kind of makes me think they might not even want to give you anything. Is that possible?
I'm not going to speak for any software vendors. I think it is possible that as a retention tactic, making it more complicated to leave and the fear that maybe you won't be able to take your data with you is a scare tactic, and they're incented to keep people as part of their own community, so to speak. So
okay, I'm going to tell you my next question, then I'm going to do another ad. The time is flying. I didn't realize it. So here's the question. You say don't sign a scope of services that limits your ability to get the most out of your software. And ask people who have seen what vendors do to try to trick you. This sounds like a horror story. You're going into a situation, you don't really understand it necessarily, especially if you haven't had software before, and you have to look out to make sure that the software vendor is going to make enough money so he treats you properly. You got to give him a good tip, and now you have to research how these people are deliberately trying to bamboozle you. What a terrible position to be in. You think about that for a minute, and I'm going to talk about my new sponsor, Hire Tool. Let me spell it for you. Hire as in hire, and Tool, Tual as in mutual. Hire Tool. My buddy there is the COO. His name is Nin Tran, okay? Now, Hire Tool is a sourcing tool. It's the new sourcing tool in town, and I got to tell you, it's getting rave reviews. I'm not making it up because they're paying me. I heard it before they started paying me, okay? And the thing is, I only thought that what they were good at was extracting contact information, because every recruiter now is so worried. They don't want to call anybody at work. They got to get the personal email. They can't even get the work email. Oh, you're going to make them angry at you. No. Okay? So this software is good at finding emails for you to send people your highly researched recruiting first contacts, right? So anyway, what happened, though, I did a demo. I don't usually do demos, but I did a demo with Nin, and I found out that it helps you do all aspects of sourcing. It builds search strings for you in LinkedIn, Facebook, and GitHub, and it tells you how close a match the people are who show up in your search results, how close they are a match to your job. I didn't say that. Slap me, I'll take it. was my fault. And then it estimates their salary. So it ranks the results, and it estimates their salary. I don't know if it's going to be a tight enough estimation. You can't come to the guy and say, you're earning $95,000 and not a penny more, and don't try to put anything over on me, because it's going to give you a range. But, people say it helps them. Anyway, I want you to check it out, and, you can do a demo just like I did. No commitments involved. They've also got a free Chrome extension. Just go to their website, HireTool.com, HireTual, HireTool.com. Okay, I'm back to my guest, my famous guest, Jeremy Allen Ames. Don't try to spell Allen. Don't try to spell it. He dropped it wisely. Okay, and I asked him a question before I did that ad. Have you had enough time to come up with a decent answer?
I have, and the point of the matter is, anytime you buy something, you need to know what you're getting out of it, and it's such an amorphous thing, buying HR technology, buying the talent acquisition systems, that you don't know what you don't know. So you end up a lot of times at the end of the road saying, this isn't what I actually thought that I was buying. So all the things that you do in the middle there, it's just like buying a car or anything. You have to know and make the right decisions in the middle of the process, so you don't end up at the end of it saying, what the heck did I just buy? And
okay, so in
now
other words, the vendor's not your friend, they're your enemy. That's what it sounds like to me. Am I right about that?
No, when you're picking, the point is, pick a vendor who is going to be your friend. Like I know plenty of vendors out there.
How do you know?
I mean, I personally know because I know a lot of the CEOs, but that doesn't mean that the buyer's going to.
I would like to say my good friend Tim Sackett, but I barely know Tim Sackett. But I've read a lot of his articles, and I've heard him on shows like this, and he says you cannot trust HR software consultants. They're getting kickbacks from a certain number of vendors, and they won't show you the full range of. They might not show you the products that would be good for you. They're going to promote their buddies, their cronies. So you're in a cesspool in that business. It sounds like to me. What do you say to that?
I said it earlier on the call that you definitely have to be careful of consultants. That's not an area that I get into. I don't have any biases when we do a selection.
Okay, you're a consultant. You've got a conflict of interest. I trust you. Okay, I trust you. You seem like a nice guy. That's always the way to tell. I looked into his eyes, just like George Bush said about Putin. I looked into his soul. Okay, and I'm looking into your soul. Okay, you say you have to ask yourself when you're talking to the vendor, do I feel like I'm being oversold? What does that mean? Pushy salesman? Yeah, it looks great on you. Is that what we're talking about?
We're talking about the vendor that says yes to everything. The vendor that says, "Oh yeah, we have a global, capabilities," and you're like, "Well, where are your clients based?" And they kind of skirt the issue. So most things will be obvious, but there are some, unobvious things in the sales process.
You ask a question. You say, "Ask this question," and this is recruiters do this all the time. You say, "Ask pointed questions," and then listen for a yes that doesn't feel natural. Does that happen a lot?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Okay. Yeah, what about, exactly.
Yeah. What about looking for a blush? I mean, if you're actually there with the person, you could see if they're blushing, right? Does it ever happen?
I mean, I would suppose that if you're good at playing poker, then maybe you can do a better job of evaluating when salespeople are lying to you. Yeah, sure. Blushes could be one thing.
Okay.
I don't know.
And what's the average is there an average purchase? I mean, you're installing these systems. How much are they worth?
Mm-hmm. How much are they worth, or how much are people paying?
Well, it depends, I assume, on the size of the company. So let's say a company with 100 people. How much is the average payment cost?
100 people is pretty much at the bottom level of what you might want to invest in an HR system. I mean, you could
you pick the example. I don't know. You pick it. Do me a favor.
Yeah, okay. Let's say a 500-employee company is looking for an HR system. They might end up spending, $200,000 on a system, but then there's the cost of the system, there's the cost of the implementation, and then there's the ongoing annual maintenance. Usually it's calculated as a per employee per month kind of situation.
Okay. And, what was I going to ask you then? I can't remember. But here's something else I don't understand. You said when you're at the demo, ask them or check out and see if the sales team modified the product to be able to handle your requirements. You have to ask them, is this the vanilla product or a modified version? What's going on there? I don't understand. To me, it would seem like you want them to modify it because you said you want to make sure that they read, if you sent them some information about what you're looking for before you have the demo, you want to make sure they actually read your notes and they're prepared to answer your questions. So if they modify the software, I assume that's good, but you make it sound like it's bad. Tell me about that.
Well, in today's world, it's less of an issue. I mean, things are changing rapidly. I wrote that probably about a year and a half ago. And in the cloud world, like when you modify a system, you're just configuring it. So if it's done right, a company, it shows actually that they worked a bit to try to get the system to look the way you wanted and they configured it. It's when they're actually changing the code that becomes a problem because they've basically just done something to sell you, and it doesn't mean that it's going to be part of the system once
So
once you go to buy it.
It's just a superficial. It's like, what do they call that? House staging, right? They make your house look a little better than it is when you want to show it to customers. Okay.
Right.
Anybody got a question? Anybody got a question? Hey, no? Okay. Joe Jose, Michael Cox. Oh, good. Hey. I got an opportunity to embarrass Michael Cox now. He tweeted, "I wish I'd sounded smart rather than just plain annoyed." But Mike, annoyed is good on this show, okay? I like annoyed. I want you to sound annoyed, okay? Jose Watson, are you on the line or are you just on Twitter?
So.
Hey, are you on the line? He works in a corporation. He's working at Lowe's. And Kelly's got a question.
No, he's got a new, bigger gig now.
Yeah, I know. He was a job hunting guest. Okay. Anything else? No, there's not a lot of tweets there. Maureen's not here to look at them. She never looks at them anyway. Okay, I'll ask some more questions. References. You know, there's a lot of recruiters who say references aren't important. I don't understand that. But you say that references when you're buying software they're really, really important. Not only that, again, you have to protect yourself from the software company. You want to make sure that the references they give you are not the 5% of their customers who like what they got, right?
Exactly. Yep.
Okay.
Wait, am I supposed to elaborate?
Nope. You wanted me to answer the questions for you, but you know what? You could have picked up on that, and you could tell a story. I'm priming the pump for you. Come on. So how do you know?
I did all my research and preparation on what we were going to talk about in recruiting and bots and all that stuff. And now
come on. Do you take it from here? What do you want to talk about?
I mean, the problem is, like, I work in this HR technology and consulting and selection and implementation. I don't think most of your guests and listeners, that's not their world. But I also cross over into the recruiting space, which is a kind of a unique blend. So those are the kind of things I thought would be kind of interesting to your.
Go! I'm begging you.
All right. So I brought up in that you referenced that list of trends that I got quoted. I think actually both of us are going to be quoted later this week. I was told on something that you wrote a trend for. Does that sound familiar?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, okay, whatever. But anyways, my particular trend has to do with bots, and it's kind of the topic that you brought up in advance of this. And, you know, whether it's going to be an AI trend in 2017 and my point that as long as the humans are kind of dominating the workplace, we don't really have to worry about that. At the same time, there's a lot of technologies coming out that are going to automate a lot of the pieces of the recruiting world. So I'm actually curious if you and some of your listeners are concerned about that. Last week's guest said that he didn't do any kind of resume parsing using technology. He does it all by hand, and that surprised me. So
you know what?
Curious.
I got to ask you, are you going to put my audience to sleep before you actually say something? Okay? Here's how you should have structured that. Animal, I want to talk about artificial intelligence and the robotization of recruiting. And here's what I think is going to be robotized or automated, and here's what I think is going to stay the same. So now that I've set it up for you, maybe you can fit an answer into that. What's going to be automated? Are people going to be fired? Are people going to stop hiring recruiters? That's what we want to know. That's first. Let me ask you, what recruiting process is going to be automated first?
Resume parsing. And the consumption of resumes and taking out the bias from the recruiting process.
Isn't there resume software in the ATS that's parsing the software already so you can search it by keyword or Boolean?
There is, but there's still some manual intervention that happens, but it's just going to continue to be automated.
That's not an answer, okay? What does it mean in practical terms? It's going to be continue to be automated. It's a terrible answer. Shame on you. Okay.
The point is it's taking out the bias so it's removing things like names, it's removing like certain elements of the candidate so that when they're evaluated and they're ranked, it doesn't have that bias in it. That's what a lot of the technology companies were showing.
Nobody's going to lose their job over that, okay? What is going to be done that's going to lose some recruiting jobs?
Here's a clue.
Let me explain.
Nothing.
Go ahead.
The concept of the initial interactions where the candidate wants to get information, there's some companies that are putting together like bots that take care of that, where you basically interact and get answers.
Hold on a second. I talked about it when Jeremy Roberts was on about a month ago. I can't remember the name of this robot. Maybe someone here does. And it's a chat box on the career site, and it's got a lot of answers programmed into it, I guess just like a FAQ. And you can actually type in questions, and it answers them for you. And if it can't, then a recruiter puts in a new answer for that question. And you build up essentially a knowledge base in this chat box. Is that what you're talking about now?
Yeah, the name is Maya. I think that's probably the one you're thinking of.
Yeah, that's it. I bet you it doesn't work. Yeah. I bet you it doesn't work. I go to these knowledge bases on TypePad. Good luck if you find what you're after. That's what I say. Okay? And that's it? That's the revolution?
There's also, there's some things that you wouldn't even necessarily want a recruiter doing, or they may not have the ability, like matching culture to the candidate. So, like, there's
God.
like a eHarmony. Yeah, all right. I knew that would draw some groans, but
Who said, oh, God? Because that's what I wanted to say as well. Who said, oh, God?
It might have been Michael.
Yeah, the machine is going to do that? A human being can't do it. It's too complicated.
There's a company called it's based on eHarmony. It's Elevated Careers, and you step through a bunch of answers, and it matches you to what you were looking for in a culture. And whether or not you guys see that, that is a complaint that I hear a lot from our clients, that they get people who aren't matched to their culture and they leave.
The truth is that there is a industry for that, and there are a lot of companies that will throw money at that. Not saying that it's going to solve any problems, but there are companies that will pay for that.
Throw money. That's like, throw good money after bad. Okay, I'm going to do another ad, okay? My final ad for the show today. That's another word from our sponsor, PC Recruiter. You've heard me say this before, but I'm going to say it again because how many times do you have to say something? 6 times before someone actually hears it, or 100 times before they take you seriously? Everybody claims that text and social media are now the new forms of communication, but everybody knows, certainly every recruiter knows, that email rules the roost. Email is king or queen, however you want to cut it. And PC Recruiter handles email. I might get in trouble here for using the wrong pronoun now. I don't know if you know what's going on at the University of Toronto. A guy's going to go to the Human Rights Commissions, one of the professors, because he only wants to say he and she. Anyway, PC Recruiter. Sorry, Marty, if you didn't want me to talk about that during your ad, but I did, okay? PC Recruiter. It handles email the way you want it handled. It works with your mobile phone accounts and always shows your connected, your sent, and received email for every candidate and hiring authority. So please check it out at pcrecruiter.net. And you know what? If you go to YouTube and put in PC Recruiter, they've got these 2-minute videos. So it's not too much to bear, but they show you how the software works, and it only takes a couple of minutes to take a glance, okay? So pcrecruiter.net. Let me ask Jeremy if what I said was relevant. I'm going to put my neck on the chopping block here. Is that important, what I just said about your mobile phone account handling email?
I'd say mobile and email, they're cutting edge, and yes, it's absolutely important.
Mm-hmm. Okay. What about you? Are you afraid of being replaced by a robot? I mean, part of the implementation process isn't software. I mean, aren't you doing the same thing over and over again? Can't you be eased out?
I wouldn't call it a robot, but I've definitely, there are a lot of companies that are making it more of a configuration exercise and less of a consulting exercise. So yeah, the implementations could be shrinking. That's definitely an area that I watch closely. But it also would end up creating value for the consumer, which is, also a good thing, I guess. So.
No, it isn't. Not if you lose your job. Sorry, son. I can't send you to university because the consumer's happy and I'm broke. Okay, sorry. Okay. Look.
Go ahead.
Okay, forget. Yeah. What about you? Don't do much work with external third-party agencies. Then, am I right about that?
I don't. They're part of the companies that I work with. Use them, but I don't personally. Correct.
Okay, so I can't ask you any questions about the differences between internal and external recruiters because you only know the internals. Am I right about that?
I know how the externals kind of get locked out of the systems. Not locked out, but they don't get the benefit of the systems, and so their entry point is always further along in the process, which kind of doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I try to encourage when I'm working with my clients that they give the externals access to their recruiting software so that they can actually, become part of the whole process.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't even know what that means.
You can't do that. It means that having them log in and actually use the system as opposed to just, basically working on their own and then contributing the candidate further along in the process. That's what I meant. Knowing more than just the source of the hire, but actually having them interact with the system.
Here's another thing that's interesting. You said it's very important if you're buying recruiting software or HR software, you ask the vendor, is the implementation fixed or changeable? So you can buy it and they can't change it for you, but let's say you don't have enough money. Sometimes you can buy it and then add parts later on, sort of modular. Is that right, Jeremy?
Yes, that is correct. It can either be a fixed fee or time and material situation.
Which do you want? You want the changeable, right? It costs more, but it leaves you much more secure that you're going to get what you need, because you might forget something or not realize that you need something at the beginning, want to add it on, and if it's fixed, you're not going to get it. Am I right about that?
Well, no, because that implies fixed fee. So if there's any vagueness on what you've asked for, but the price is fixed, then towards the end you could try to figure out a way to include that additional stuff as part of that fixed fee. So
I think
it actually is more beneficial.
That. Okay, so you also have Okay, how are we going to define success for the implementation? You have to talk about that as well, but not by speed. The speed of the implementation is not a good success indicator, and you're talking about something that might take 400 hours. Am I right about that?
At least, yes.
At least 400 hours. Well, it's like a lifetime.
That's for multiple team members to work on something over the course of months. So it's not, when you start doing the math, it's not that much, but it's intensive. You're taking data from a prior system. You're working with HR and payroll information, recruiting, bringing over the candidate pool. There's a lot of the work that goes into it.
Okay, so speed. Don't demand that the guys do it fast. That's not a good thing to do. Is that what you're telling me?
Right. You can end up really killing your internal team, and you're pushing the vendor to do something too fast.
What do you are you working with just HR people, or do you actually work with the recruiters in-house as well?
The recruiters as well, but it's mostly the HR team. But then the recruiters pop in for the.
What do you see recruiters doing wrong that you think they can do right?
I mean, the biggest thing that I've seen is the silos between HR and recruiting. I'd like to see those silos broken down, so not working independently.
I know it's a sin, like a terrible sin for me to ask. Can you tell us a story about a silo, about a problem? Can you? Do you have a story?
Yeah, I used to work with a big company out in the West, and recruiting had its own room, and it was like walking into a ghost yard. It was not a fun place to walk into whenever I had to get information from them. They were really quite miserable, and they didn't feel like they were part of the company. They were always trying to get a better system than the one they had, and they weren't connected to the company, so that probably, I'm guessing, reflected in their work. So that was a specific example.
So was that a silo, or just that the company doesn't want to spend money on them and they're resentful? Isn't that what you said?
Whatever is worse than a silo is what that was.
Okay.
So it was like yeah.
Oh, you know what? I had another question, but my mind doesn't retain things very long these days. It was something that really interested me as well. Oh boy. You know what? I'm going to say something right now though, because it's almost over. This article, what's the name of that article again? Because I thought it was terrific. Is that a compliment or not? It's a great article. You can actually find it on searchfinancialapplications.techtarget.com. Is that the best place to find it? That's where I found it. It's very long. searchfinancialapplications.techtarget.com. But what's the name of it? Buying Human Resources Software by William Tincup and Jeremy Ames. Is that the best writing you've ever done? And is it best because you did it with William?
It was one of the most enjoyable series and things I've been a part of. I've done a lot, so I don't like evaluating my own work. I think it came out good. I was proud of that.
Okay, yeah. You know what? I like to grade my own work, and so should you, okay? Don't be so soft. Okay, Jose Watson, I just want to say hi, Kelly, all the people who've, participated in the show this year. I think you're great, except for the people who hate me. You know what? Jeremy Roberts said that not as many people hate me as before, but yes, they do. I can tell you some stories. People would accuse me of being resentful, okay? So I want to thank you, Jeremy, for coming back on the show, and I hope you come back to see us next year as well. Michael G. Cox, Jimmy Durbin, Maureen and Jerry aren't here. Who knows what Jerry's doing, okay? Is there anything you want to say? Hive Tech, is that hivetechr.com? Is that the URL for your company? Hive Tech
That is,
HR?
and thank you for botching it so terribly. But yes, that is.
Okay. Look, you know what's going to happen? People are going to start calling you up and say, "Look, Jeremy, you don't have to go to any conference on the other side of the world to get a job. I heard you on the Recruiting Ames Show."
All right, so 18 years in the industry, started with the family firm, recruiting industry.
Oh, there you have it.
Jerry, wake up. You recommended this guy. Go ahead.
I mentioned it offhand when I was in a drunken stupor.
Don't ask Jerry for advice after 5 p.m. Okay, go ahead, Brian.
God.
You guys, I have to say, no banning on this show. Nobody's that bad. And you know what?
Here's the deal. The dude is full of negative energy, and I'm just saying I simply don't. The after show is not about negativity. It's not about
Jerry, if you open your eyes, you'd see he talks to you just like you talk to me. It's constantly, Animal is an idiot. Everything he says is nonsense. I used to like the show, but now it's nothing. I don't kick you off.
Hey.
I don't kick you off the show, and
you're
not
a friendly
kick
guy.
him off, okay?
Hey, I just don't need it. If he is ready to say that he's done with it, then I embrace his participation.
So Amy Beth is a good communicator.
Where does whiskey fit in with
recharging? What she does and being
that make me an introvert?
Manager. That doesn't make her an extrovert.
Yes, Jerry,
you're an introvert.
Jerry, if you drink alone, then you're an introvert.
What if